up to the front. And I'm like, Mr. So-and-so, we'll not use his real name because I know some of you out there will contact him. Roy.
No.
I'm like, you wanted to see me? He goes, yes, Mr. Bonamassa. And I still use this line to this day. He goes, Mr. Bonamassa, I asked you to write a truthful account of what you did on your summer vacation. Not something that was derived in the land of make-believe in your lollipop house on Gumdrop Lane. So now, I'm furious. Fear is palpable. I said, no, I can prove this. I can prove this. He goes, you have to prove this, dude, because quite frankly, I've never heard a story like this. This is unbelievable if this happened. Okay, I go home, I get my tour pass, I get my tour book, I get a picture with me and B.B. King. This is back in the days before Adobe Photoshop, because, now I could be Jack Ruby. Whatever. Yeah. And they, oh, you say, really? Must be that old. So I get all this stuff, smoking gun. It's like, I'm like, this is it. I have proof. Me and Mr. King, we're like this. Show up the next day. Now, mind you, the Utica newspaper comes to the Bonamassa house after I leave for school. And I was talking to a lot of people at that point. So I come in, I sit. First period, it's 8:05. Never been a morning person, never will be, so I'm not my very best early on. So I sit in the back, as I normally do. I'm a shy kid, just want to get through my day. He comes down the aisle. I leave my materials on his desk. He comes down my aisle with my paper, the tour book, the pass, and the, whatever. And this rolled up newspaper. And he's coming towards me, like, and it's silent. Now, when you're a kid and another kid gets in trouble, you secretly enjoy that. So I could see that in the room, like going, oh my God, Bonamassa's going to get it. Now I'm going, I should have just, and at this point in time, I'm sweating bullets. And I go, I should have just lied. I should have just said anything but what I did. So he puts the stuff down on my desk, and he goes, Mr. Bonamassa, little did I know I was on the cover of the Utica Observer-Dispatch that morning. Where the title says, Blues Boy Plays with Blues King. And there's the picture of me and B.B. King. And he puts the newspaper down in front of me, and he pulls out a pen, and he puts it there. And he goes, Mr. Bonamassa, my wife and I would like to know if you'd be so kind as to autograph this newspaper. Now, that, ladies and gentlemen, is when I knew I could rule that school with impunity, without fear of reprisals. And that's when I knew that this was not a bad business to be in. And a week later, we had NBC television cameras come up because they saw me on the B.B. King tour. And it was just basically, they came up and they filmed me, going to school, and all the kids had this little lavalier mic on. So, all the kids were like, they'd run up to me and they knew I was mic'd for sound, so they just yelled dirty words or bad words. None of the footage was usable, except for me, dropping my books in front of 5.5 million people. That's okay. But within an hour, Columbia Records was on the phone. Within 2 hours, EMI Records was on the phone. And I got my record deal from them. And that was the record deal that led to a band called Bloodline. So when I was in 13 or 14, I think we played the old Shank Hall with Bloodline or something. Eagles Ballroom or something in Milwaukee. So that was my big break. And the reason why I tell this story is because B.B. King was the reason why I'm standing here. And I firmly believe without the help of B.B. King, and I've known him for 20 years, and I've done shows with him for 20 years straight. I firmly believe without the help of B.B. King, I wouldn't be standing here, and that's my big break. And it doesn't matter, it could happen when you're 12, it can happen when you're 30, it can happen when you're 50. And you just have to be ready for it. And so I owe him a lot of thanks, and I wouldn't have all you fine folks in this room without him. And he always told me to work very hard, but it takes a guy to help you out. So there's my BB King story. So I'm going to play a song. I'm going to take some questions. Everybody asks me, like, so Joe, we saw you lost some weight. How'd you do it? I stopped eating. 65 pounds in a year. And it's a lifestyle change. I remember playing Summerfest in Milwaukee about 4 or 5 years ago before I had my